Welcome to week 2, Comp 1. Let's talk a little bit about where we're going. Before I even get started, though, I just want you to know that if you have any questions, if this just isn't doing enough for you, I am happy to speak to you face-to-face in my virtual office hours every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for sure. Unless I'm traveling or something like that, I am going to be in my virtual office hour, which is available. Let me just show you how to get that real quick before we even get started. It's available. If you click over here on the faculty tab, all you have to do is just copy and paste. That is the address. It will take you to my virtual office hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. To 9 a.m. Now on Mondays, however, I will be in my virtual office pretty much off and on though, but pretty much all day. So 8 to about 3 o'clock, maybe even 4 o'clock some days, I'll have my virtual office hour open so that you can just pop in. However, if you want to make sure for sure that I'm going to be there, just email me ahead of time and I'll be happy to do it. On Tuesdays and Thursdays at the 2 o'clock hour, most of the time I will be in my virtual office hour. However, on those days, I do oftentimes have conflicting appointments. I do Project Excel for the state, and this semester I will be traveling. So on many of those days, those will be travel days. So if for some reason I'm not there, that's why. However, I will say this, just make an appointment with me and you'll know for sure. So email me ahead of time, say, hey, Professor Kuma, would you mind if we got together and talked about English stuff? And I'd be happy to talk to you. I promise I'm not a scary, mean jerk. I am here to help you. So that is what I want to start this class with. Secondly, let's talk a little bit about what you did for last week. I know there was an outage from Blackboard as far as getting your stuff handed in. And just so you know, anytime Blackboard is down, you don't have to tell me about it. I know, and I'm not ever going to penalize you for handing something in late just because Blackboard is being Blackboard. Let's see, I'll turn on the light. Okay, now you can see me better. Hooray. All right, so just because Blackboard is being Blackboard, hey, I'm not going to penalize you for that. Also, most of you did hand in your homework. So the only homework you had to hand in last time, and we said learn to hand in something on Blackboard. On that video, if you were following along, it was in the homework and assignments in Essay 1. All I wanted you to do was use this pre-formatted document to write a paragraph about yourself and then hand it in where it says paragraph introduction. That was literally all it was. And most of you guys handed that in. If for some reason you just spaced it or not or whatever, hey, it's week 2. I know we're all getting used to this. It's virtual world. Hey, I don't like it any more than anybody else does, but hey, get it in, hand it in today, and we'll just move forward and we'll pretend that you handed it in on time. Otherwise, make sure to hand in everything on Friday by midnight. Real quick, a few things I wanted to catch up on that maybe I should have spoken to a little bit more last week was the issue of makeup work and late work. Speaking of what I was just speaking of, typically when it comes to homework, the way it works is you get all the points for homework if you just hand it in and you completed it. So things like we're going to be doing the writing process, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And there's a video that I'm going to have you guys watch. But the writing process stuff is just a completion score. As long as you completed all of the parts of the writing process, you get all the points. If you don't complete them, you don't get the points for them. So it is what it is there, and they should always be handed in on time. Then there are the summary assignments. You're going to get 8 of those this semester. You always want to make sure to hand those in on time. And then also your essays, you have 4 of those this semester. Make sure to hand those in on time. If for some reason you hand them in late, they are deducted 1 letter grade for every day that you handed in late, which, hey, I'd rather hand in really, really good A paper that I get a B on rather than a nightmare F paper that I simply get all of my F on by handing it in on time. So if you need a little extra time and you can take the hit, just do that. But make sure you always hand in all your essays. If you even if you hand it in a month late, I will give you a 50%. Okay, that is an F, but a 50% is better than a 0%. And as far as passing the class, it's infinitely better to get 50% on some of the things, and then of course try to make it up on the other essays. than it is to try to make your way out of a 0. So a 0 is a big hole to try to dig yourself out of. So please make sure your homework is in on time. If for some reason you have some issues, please let me know. But you know, it really is a matter of let's make sure we're keeping up with homework, and don't let yourself get caught up in something where you're intimidated by the homework, so you wait forever and you start late. We all know what that's like. There's this whole, you know, let's delay as long as we can, but at the end of the day, it's not good for you. It's not good for your grade, and it doesn't make it any easier whenever you only have one night to complete the whole essay. So try to get started as soon as you can. Excuse me. So the instructor's academic dishonesty statement, I want you to read this, but a few things I want you to know. I think it's obvious that you shouldn't copy and paste from people, you know, and copy other people's work. We have really good software here at Vincent's University that allows us to track every word that you use, every combination of words that you use in your essays. So when it comes to getting away with plagiarism, it's really easy for me to catch you. Sometimes I'll let things slide because I'll be like, I don't think this was intentional, but then I will watch you on the next time. And so just really watch that. One of the things I don't think everybody knows though ahead of time is that if you use words or paragraphs or phrases that you've already handed into another class and you use that in this class, that's still considered plagiarism. So everything you write for me needs to be fresh, new, and completely original. You cannot reuse your own work in this class. That is also considered plagiarism. Also, if you, I want you to all take a look at this disability service policy. If there's anything that you feel like you need accommodations for, you do need to go through the academic, the ADA or the Disability Services Office. That is required. I cannot and will not give you accommodations for anything unless it is through that office. And so just make sure that you go through that if you feel like you need accommodations. Those accommodations can never be retroactive. So for instance, if you give me an accommodations thing halfway through the semester, I can't go back and somehow go back in time and give you accommodations. It's always the day you give it to me is the first day I can ever give you any kind of accommodations. And of course, take a look at the phone number and the website there if you feel the need. So again, last week we did some basic stuff. I showed you the formatting, and again in that essay 1 folder, I gave you that pre-formatted Word document there, and then let's see, and then you handed in your introduction paragraph here. And then the only other thing you had to do is you just needed to read the summary, instructions, example check, this stuff in this folder for summaries. We're going to do 8 summaries throughout the semester. You're going to do summaries all semester long. There's going to be summaries. So make sure that you've read all 3 of these documents and come back to them often. Speaking of readings, we do have an issue on the book. They did upgrade the book and they didn't even tell me. So that's great. So I just got my new 5th edition of this book literally just a couple days ago. I did take a look. Most all of the readings are the same. However, there are a couple readings that are not the same. So if you have the 4th edition of the Inquiry textbook, see if you can go to the bookstore and exchange it for the 5th edition. If for some reason you can't, or if you're just stuck with the 4th edition, I will try to make sure that all of the readings are the same so that you can follow along. However, it's sometimes hard to do that. So it is better if you get the 5th edition. So I will be giving you assignments for reading both articles, but also how to write better. And they will all be for the 5th edition now, not the 4th edition. So I've got to make some changes to the syllabus as a result. If you are using the 4th edition and you just cannot get the 5th edition, you may want to download my Word document of the syllabus so that you see all the old page numbers. Those might help you. But from now on, I have to update everything for the 5th edition. Sorry about that. That's kind of a weird thing. Let's see here. So, okay, so essay one, we're going to take a look today at that essay. Let's just take a quick look at the syllabus and get used to how this class works. Again, I want you to read. There's things I want you to read and I want you to learn. And then whenever I say this, that doesn't mean you have to hand these things in. It just means that you should be working on them. So reading them, learning about them, you should be working on them. And then there's times like in essay, like in week 3, okay, things should be complete. That doesn't mean that you have to hand them in at that point either. You should be completed with them. And then eventually, like you see on week 5, it will say hand in all process work. It will say essay 1 due Friday by midnight. That's when you have to hand things in to me. So for the next few weeks, we're not really going to hand much in. We are going to, like in essay 4, like in week 4, we're going to hand in our summaries. But for the next 2 weeks, nothing has to be handed in. I just need you to be working on these things, completing these things as you go, keeping them on your own so that eventually you'll hand them in. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, we're going to read essay 1, the essay 1 assignment sheet. So let's take a quick look at the essay 1 assignment sheet. Let's see, where is that assignment? Here we go. So this is the narrative essay, and you can find that here. It's in red, essay 1 assignment sheet. That's in our essay 1 folder. So the essay 1 assignment sheet says this. This is the narrative essay. And okay, so anytime there's anything that's highlighted, we always want to make sure to read that first. So required, 650 to 1,000 words. So that's required. And if you give me something shorter than 650 words, you can expect an automatic failing grade. I have to make sure that everyone at least meets a basic standard so that this is what's required of you. This is what a complete essay should be like. So 650 words should be the minimum that you give me. So 650 to 1,000 words. If you go a little bit over 1,000 words, it's not the end of the world. But if you go a lot over like 1,500 or 1,600 words, then I start counting off pretty significantly. We need to learn to write enough. And then also we're not writing a book. We need to make it succinct enough that the average person will actually sit down and read it. So, okay, 650 to 1,000 words, Times New Roman, 12-point font, all of this stuff, all of the formatting stuff, if you're using the pre-formatted Word document in our Blackboard page, you're set. So you can just always come back to that document and you know you're set. Okay, if you fail to do any of those things, you get an automatic failing grade. Now, if you do decide to somehow cite something, if you're going to quote something or quote somebody, you have to be able to cite it in MLA format, and you'll need a works cited entry. It's not required for this essay at all. Most people never do that. They don't, mostly on a narrative essay, most people don't quote or use another source. Most of the time it's just a personal story. But if that's something you want to do, you do need to be able to cite it appropriately. So let's take a look at the assignment. So it says, while we learn a lot in school, we usually learn life's biggest lessons through experience. Each of us learns these life lessons in different ways, but one thing remains the same. Experience is a powerful teacher. Some lessons are profound and deep, and others are simple but equally true. In this essay, you are to think of a story from your life where you learned a life lesson, and you will use it to teach your reader the lesson that you learned. So here's the thing. You're teaching a lesson, okay? You're going to teach a life lesson using a story from your life. Okay, here's how you'll do this. Now, what you see here is the writing process, okay? And I've got a video that I'm going to ask you to watch about the writing process, but literally, these are all the steps of the writing process. And we're going to repeat this writing process for every essay that we write this semester. So the first step is always invention, okay? So we have to really be able to think about things. So it says, think about stories from your life where you learned a valuable lesson that you think others, and I have a typo there, others would benefit from. What is a truth that your story conveys? Some people might think of this as the moral of the story. So what is the lesson? You really have to think, okay, yeah, there's the story in my life, but what was the lesson that I learned? What lesson could another person learn? And I've got an example essay where I learned a lesson about cheating. And then I tell you a story in one of the videos that I'm going to have you guys watch. I tell you a story where I learned a lesson as a child. So I give you a couple examples of that. And then there's also some readings that give you an example of what a narrative should look like when it comes to teaching a lesson. But anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. And then after that, you got to think about your audience, okay? Audience awareness. Think about who you're writing to. It is most likely that you will be writing to your peers, people that are about your own age. How will you tell this story to someone who you perceive to be a peer? So even though you know that it's Professor Coomer that's going to be reading and grading your essay, the goal of this assignment, the goal of this class is to be able to write to different audiences, or at least to understand what your audience expects from you whenever you write. So it's not like you're writing to anyone and everyone, especially if you're teaching a life lesson, okay? So think about people who might need to know this lesson, or maybe who have not learned this lesson yet. And that's stuff you're going to need to think about, as far as those are the people that you're writing to. And then when it comes down to your thesis statement, think of a sentence that states the lesson that your story teaches. Okay, so a sentence that states the lesson your story teaches. That's your thesis statement. It doesn't have to be cosmic or profound. So it's not like you have to write Aesop's fables here, but it just needs to be a lesson that you will teach using a story from your life. So you need to be able to come out and say it. Okay, and then in your outline, okay, you're going to have an outline, a basic outline for this essay. And of course, I've got a lecture on outlining for a narrative essay. And basically, you're just going to think about how you're going to tell this story. Then eventually, you're going to actually write the story down. You're going to draft it. So drafting is the editing and revision process. After you complete your first draft, you reread your narrative and make sure that it will do what you want it to do, which is clearly teach a lesson to your reader. So this is all about teaching a life lesson. This is a pretty easy essay, and we're going to start with this because most people have, at least in some point in your life, you've learned something from an experience. So that's where we're starting with this class. Now, I've also got for you an example of, it's just this narrative example. This is a narrative that I wrote. It's a little longer. It's talking about, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the original Nintendo. That was what I was playing with when I was a kid. But it's a little longer than what you're going to write. It's 4 pages long. So don't worry. Well, I think it's 4 pages. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 pages. You're not going to have to write something this long, but this is an example of how things might look. Okay, I've got an introduction here. I've got a thesis statement. When we avoid facing the difficulty in life's challenges in order to win, we take all of the value out of our victories. That's the lesson that I want you to learn. Notice how I'm not saying in my opinion or I believe. That's not what a thesis statement is ever going to have in there. It's just, this is what you need to learn, right? When we avoid facing the difficulty in life's challenges in order to win, we take all the value out of our victories. That's the lesson, okay? I have an introduction here, and then I just get into the story. And I tell the story of, I don't know if you've ever heard of the game Genie, but that was something that was really popular when I was a kid. And then I've got the story, it closes, and then I've got a little conclusion, boom. That's what I'm asking you guys to do in this essay. And again, you don't have to have it as long, but basically that's essentially an example you can always look at and base your narrative off of. Okay, so having said that, let's take a look back at that syllabus. So, okay, we've read the Essay 1 assignment sheet. Now, I want you to learn how to brainstorm and cluster, and then I want you to read the assigned readings, okay? So before we get to the videos, we'll talk about the videos last. I'm going to show you where the assigned readings are. And then, like I say here, it's Essay 1 folder, reading 1 and 2. So if we go to the Essay 1 folder, again, that's in the home. Everything we're going to be doing pretty much is always in homework and assignments, right? Essay 1 project materials, because we're working on this essay for a while. And then you'll see these 2 readings, The Subway Paradigm Shift by Stephen Covey, and then Learning to Play Chess narrative. These are the 2 first readings that you're going to summarize. So as you read them, and again, for this week, all I want you to do is read them. That's all that I'm requiring. But just know, as you read them, you will be doing a summary over both of these. So as you're reading them, again, think back to what you read in that summary folder. Think back to that and think about the example summary. Think about that. And if you think about it with this example summary, and just kind of going into summaries just a little bit, let's see here. Let's think about what we can expect to do. So when it comes to the instructions on how to write summaries, it says, okay, let's see, I'll zoom in a little bit more. All right. So your introductory sentence, so the first sentence of a summary is going to state the title of the article, okay, the author's name, and the source in the first sentence. Now, you may not always have these things. For instance, on both of these, you'll have a title on these first two readings. But if you take a look at the two readings, you're going to notice one of them, you have the author, okay, Stephen Covey. The other one, you don't have an author, but you still need to know how to summarize it, okay? Well, what that means is we can only follow directions so much. So you at least have the title, because they at least narrative essay example, ultimate chess match. There's the only title they've given us, okay? So you'll have that, but you just don't have the name of the author or the source. Like you don't have the book or the magazine where this was printed in the first time, okay? So you'll only be able to give the title in the first sentence. Now let's take a look at that example summary. If you take a look at the example summary, how did they do this? They said in the article, learning survival skills. So you'll say in the article, learning to play chess or whatever the title was. And then you won't have the name of the author. So you might say the author shares a story about learning chess, right? If you take a look at this example, they have the name of the author and they say shares tips for student success. So that's what they did. And if you take a look at the instructions, they stated the title and the author's name. They didn't have the source, so they didn't have to say the name of the source, like the textbook or the magazine. And then it's basically, it says we got to make sure those two things are in the first sentence. Now, the other thing is we also need to do, we state the author's main idea in your own words after the introductory sentence. So sentence 2. So the first 1 or 2 sentences were basically telling the reader, so your reader, what the goal of the author was. So if you look here in the article, Learning Survival Skills, Jean Coleman shares tips for student success. So this is what the author does, shares tips for student success. And then the second sentence is the main idea. She believes these guidelines will help community college students succeed in life. Awesome. Okay, so that's the main idea. Now, everything after that in a summary is always just going to be, first the author says this, then the author says this. So it's supporting details. And in a narrative, first the author tells about this, then the author tells about this. That's literally all you're going to do. And you got to do it in your own words, and you don't offer your own opinion. So if you take a look, that's what we have in this example. One of the guidelines encourages students to be realistic in planning their career options and consider how their college classes will help them find a job in that field. Another suggestion, just take a look at how these things are phrased. Basically, all this author is doing, all this the student here is doing, is saying one thing the author says is this. The next thing the author said is this. And all you need to do is basically give a play-for-play of the reading. A third recommendation she has is this. Lastly, she says this, okay? And that's literally all you have to do in a summary. Summaries are not that hard, and a lot of times we overthink them, and we think we have to give all the little details, but we don't. We just have to give the major ideas, and that's about it, okay? And you're gonna learn a lot about it this semester. And when it comes to your length, we're looking at like 5 to 10 sentences. Now, in the first 2 assignments, the first 2 summaries, I'm not going to have you do citation, so you don't have to worry about number 7 and number 8. You'll see that there is citation here, and that just tells me the page range. And then right here is the works cited entry. We're going to get into that in essay 2. Okay, so don't even worry about that yet. That's not even something we're worried about. All I want you to do is read those readings and then work on, okay, start your work start thinking about, okay, how am I going to summarize these 2 readings? Because those will be due in week 4, right? Summaries of readings due on Blackboard. So you got 2 weeks. You've got lots of time, actually 3 weeks, because it won't be due till Friday of week 4. So you got 3 weeks to really do this. And if you have questions, again, let me know. We'll do a Zoom. I'll clear things up for you, and you'll have a great semester. Okay, so that is what I want you to do whenever you're reading those assigned readings. Just think about this. Okay, the only other thing you have to do is watch some videos. Let me show you where the videos are, and then I'll wrap it all up, put a bow on it, and review. So all of the videos for Essay 1 is going to be in this Lectures for Essay 1 folder, in the Essay 1 folder. So you click there. Here are the ones that I want you to watch. I want you to watch Professor Coomer's Essay 1 Primer. I want you to watch Essay 1, the writing process. I want you to watch Essay 1, Invention 1. And then I want you to watch Essay 1, Audience Awareness. So the first 4 videos, make sure to watch those. And if you look at that, I'll give you the duration here. You've got about, maybe 45 minutes worth of video to watch. So make time for that this week, okay? I can't really be there 3 times a week for you and be there directly with you, but I wanted to make sure to give you as much class-like experience as possible. So I made sure to do these videos for you for that purpose. And I will also be adding this to the announcements I want you to do. So let's wrap it up. Let's take a look. So we've already read the assignment sheet, okay? And I want you to read that on your own, though. Then you're going to watch your videos, and then you read the 2 assigned readings. That's all you got to do, okay? Watch the videos. Be working on those, okay? Don't just watch them and say, that's okay, and then forget about it. Work on the things that are in the videos, okay? But they're not due for a while, okay? I don't even expect you to be done with them until next week. But work on them, and then read those 2 readings. Again, those 2 readings are in the Essay 1 folder. Subway Paradigm Shift, Learning to Play Chess. Do those things, be working on those, and at least have those things done, not handed in, but done by Friday at midnight, and you are well on your way to doing great in English 101. Guys, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, email me, or come by my virtual office hours every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Tuesday, Thursdays during the 2 o'clock hour. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, please make sure that you're emailing me to make sure for sure that I'm going to be there. I may not be there on those days. Sometimes, a lot of times, those are hard days for me to make my office hours. So just make sure to email me, but I'll make sure, even if it's outside of those times, I will make time to talk to you. Guys, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for all your hard work, and good luck this week.